Salutations everyone, welcome to another Overwatch 2 video where today I'm finally going to be talking about Juno. I know I said that my next video was going to be Juno and that was a long time ago, but the character obviously was going to get some adjustments as pretty much every new support character does when they initially come out. And like as always, the reactions were mixed from, you know, when she was first available for the trial. And then when she first came out, some people were like, she does way too much healing. Some people were like, she does way too much damage. Some people were like, she does very little damage. Some people were like, her ult's not very good. And then she got some buffs, and then she came out and she got nerfs, right? And what's kind of crazy is like the character is performing very well. Like there's no growing pains. People don't like, oh, you have to really learn how to play the character because of how complicated she is. She's not one of the easier supports, but also not one of the harder supports to play. Yet for some reason, and I really can't pin it down, guys, Juno is the best support in the game. She is number 2 in bronze, and she's number 1 at every single other rank. I don't think we've had a support do that in Overwatch 2's history. I mean, we've had Alari at times be, you know, number 1 in most ranks. But not all but one. I mean, granted, there was, you know, probably a time in Overwatch 1's history where Mercy was number 1 at pretty much every single rank, but in Overwatch 2, definitely has not happened. And what's also really weird is, like, not only is she statistically the best support in the game when it comes to win rate at every single level, which is unusual when a character in a role is the best on the bottom and the best at the top levels of play, but also she doesn't feel broken. She doesn't feel too strong. Like, I really can't pin down what makes this character so successful. That's kind of like why I took a little bit extra time to play this character. And I was like, oh, I got some footage. I'll use this video. And I'll use this game. I'll use this game. This game's not so good. This one's good, but it's, you know, it doesn't showcase this, and part of her kit. Because I really wanted to be like, do I understand this character correctly? Like, there's not something super broken. Like, she has good synergies, right? She can heal a lot. She's top 3 in healing at every single rank, sometimes top 2. But, like, she doesn't get a ton of kills. She's, like, middle when it comes to damage. She's, you know, like, 3rd at best when it comes to KDA. Throughout the ranks, so there's really not a lot that stands out from her. Obviously, you have really, really good healing. Really, the characters that outdo her in healing aren't typically judged as good characters, such as Lifeweaver. We know how much healing Lifeweaver can output, but, you know, his ult isn't the best, and he's, you know, he's good at like poking down a shield or something, but he's not going to get a lot of kills. But he's also maneuverable, so he's not going to die a lot, but you're also not going to really focus on doing damage. And when it comes to Juno, she can do some decent damage. She can get some kills, as hopefully you'll appreciate in these gameplays here. Obviously, and I'll try to use her as a DPS Juno. I'm mostly trying to, you know, use my utility, use the speed boost, heal up my my teammates, use my ult when applicable. And it's not a great ult. I don't feel like, you know, playing with Juno as Juno or against Juno, that her ult is incredible. It's like, it's not insane. There's nothing super special about it. Like, it is quite niche. It can do really well, or it could be completely useless because it's a small area that moves at a certain pace. And it does apply heal and damage, and sometimes you can kind of underestimate how much it's healing or how much the damage boost is. But also, you have to be within that radius in order to get those effects. Now, when you do, you get both of the effects, and that can be quite nice to help, you know, put you over the edge so you don't die just long enough to win that duel, or you do enough damage to kill something that you otherwise maybe you wouldn't have. But it can be hard to judge. It's kind of like, you know, Mercy's Valkyrie. She'll be switching in between healing and damage. She won't be doing both, but sometimes it can be hard to gauge just how much value it's adding, especially if you aren't the Mercy, right? But it can be annoying because, you know, you can't really kill Mercy most of the time. She's one of the hardest characters to kill in the game, but Juno is actually pretty easy to kill. Like, she doesn't have any get out of jail free cards. She doesn't have much in the way of escape tools. Now, you see my ult definitely helped there. It assisted on all of the kills, so, you know, not a terrible ult by all means, but when the character first came out, I thought that her ult was kind of a balance. It's like, oh yeah, she can do a decent amount of damage, she can do a lot of healing, and with, you know, some team comps, she's not going to get a ton of heals, you know, with a wrecking ball, because, you know, not many characters do. She's, you know, good with a big shield, especially Reinhardt, because we know how good he is with speed boost and how he's traditionally played with Lucio. And I just figured that, oh, she's pretty decent at healing, pretty decent at damage, but has no escape card, and her ult's not that great. But, you know, it doesn't seem to be much of an issue, her ult being, you know, not consistently good as, say, Beat is. I feel like Beat is a better ultimate. I feel like Coalescence is way more consistent and can pop off quite a bit more. It also does healing and damage, so there's going to be many instances where it can have the same kind of impact or just straight up more impact, because you get to aim the darn thing, right? Because when it comes to Juno, it's like you have to you pick the trajectory and you just have to live with it, right? So I don't feel like her ultimate is crazy out of whack. Her damage doesn't seem to be out of whack. Like I said, her damage it's middle of the road when compared to the rest of the supports. She doesn't do as much as a good Moira would do, or a good Baptiste. You know, maybe, you know, as Zenyatta with a Discord Orb against the non-shielded tank, he can really pop off and help secure kills, or, you know, win some duels himself. Juno doesn't really have that, and again, she's killable. If you want to focus her down with a you know, a Tracer, a Sombra, a Genji, it's not a hard task, because, like, she has, yeah, the speed boost, but it's not a lot of speed boost. She doesn't get to run on walls and be as hard to hit as Lucio is with his speed, and her flight is not that quick. You don't get to, you know, fly around like Valkyrie or anything crazy like that. And her torpedoes are pretty good. That typically tends to be like where half of her damage comes from. And, you know, also a decent amount of heals as well. But not enough to bring it over the top to where I'm like, oh man, they need to nerf torpedoes. I can't really pin down what makes the character so strong. Obviously, you have the really good synergy. I really like the speed boost and the buff that they gave to that, because when it first came out, didn't seem that great. I mean, you like to have it, right? But the fact that it can, you know, affect everybody, you all coming out of spawn, or, you know, your new group with the grouping respawn system that we have now. So that's getting more value than it probably would have 2 patches ago, right? And with the new game mode, she's fantastic. Like, that's the one time where I'm like, oh, I hope I get to play Juno, because I really like her on the new game modes, because speed is really important, of getting to that objective first, or, you know, pushing up against their spawn, or getting out of the way really, really quickly, because now they're starting to spawn closer. I love Juno on the new game mode. I also like her quite a bit on push as well. But here on our new Anubis map, she's fantastic. It's wide open enough in most of the areas that you can get a lot of lock-ons with your torpedoes. But I like her on the other one as well. I like having the speed. You know, she's not going to, like, wow you with how much healing she does, but she does a lot of healing. You know, it's not atypical for her to lead in heals. I also, you know, I threw the speed ring out there hoping the Doom could use it to help escape, and he didn't there, but I've had plenty of times where it's really good as an escape tool. You know, you got 1 or 2 alive, you just speed boost on out of there. It could be a bit more useful than Lucio, because with Lucio, you have to choose. Do you go with the heal, or do you go with the speed? And, you know, maybe you already used the heal within that fight. With Juno, it's like it's only going to do speed, so you save it for instances where only speed is going to make sense. So It's going to be a bit more situational, sure, and obviously her primary fire and torpedoes really help with that healing, so she's going to, out heal Lucio. So, people were worried that this being the first character since Lucio from the support side that has speed boost for other characters, is that going to be stepping on his toes too much? And I feel like they did a pretty good job, honestly, with having her apply speed to the game, but not completely outclassing Lucio, because they speed in completely different ways. One's AOE, and one you have to walk through a big ring, right? So they kind of the interplay is very different when going up against or with either of those different speed boosts. And obviously you have the speed cap, so people were who were worried about too much speed being an issue, but we already knew that wasn't going to be if you have been paying attention to Overwatch the last couple years, and that there is a cap of how much speed can be added to these characters. But she's a good solo, like, I guess, main support, as you can say. Main support's not really a thing in Overwatch 2, but healing a tank, pocketing a tank, she's pretty darn good at. And any tank would like to have the speed, and any tank would like to have that ultimate coming up right behind them. And she could do a fair bit of damage, but not as much. She's not like great at dueling. She's not as good as Moira. She's not as good as Baptiste. She's not as good as Zenyatta or Illari. She's like not a really great duelist. I guess there's just a combination of some situational bursts of speed, a lot of heals, and can you put your ult in a good spot at a good time? It's a very timing oriented ultimate, and if you can get value out of torpedoes, yeah, she's going to be pretty good. But again, it doesn't seem to explain why is she so good. In my gameplay or other gameplays that I've seen from other streamers, other players, people on other teams, it never feels like, oh man, we need to get that Juno, she's killing it. I feel like all the time with Mercy, or a Baptiste that's just getting lamp after lamp after lamp down, or maybe Zenyatta is doing his Discord thing and your tank is not countering or keeping that in mind when it comes to enting in and dying in their 1v5s. Briggs pretty decent right now. Lifeweaver does more heals, but is obviously the worst. I think almost every single rank, if not every single rank, he's definitely towards the bottom in every rank, and maybe the worst he's definitely the worst in most ranks, I would say, when it comes to, again, just straight up win percentage. So like there's no real formula to look for to be like what makes a character really strong. She has, like, again, no escape tool. You can pounce on her and she's dead. Even if she's flying, even a Tracer who's going to have that damage fall off and is doing really poorly right now thanks to the nerfs, because, yeah, she was already decently balanced. We didn't need to nerf her, but, it's 4 months. 4 months have gone by, so here comes her nerf. That they'll probably undo in another 4 months like they always do. And, they usually don't undo it all the way. But anyways, not a great character at flying enemies and not a great character at range. It's still pretty easy for a Tracer to lock down a Juno. A Sombra, hacking her, she's dead as hell. Whereas you have your Lucios or Baptiste, Kiriko's, Briggs, Moiras, they have tools to help themselves escape and then continue to apply damage or continue to apply heals or use those utility cooldowns, and they're really good ults that are much more straightforward most of the time than Illari. I mean, sure, Illari is a set it and forget it kind of ult, but it's all about the timing. And, some characters on your team are going to be able to benefit more than others. Couldn't save the Reaper there. But she's just I felt like she was just kind of a solid support, and that she was going to be kind of middling, but in like a good way, because people were like really tired of new characters coming out and they're just way too strong. And this character, I don't feel like many people thought, oh man, this character coming out is going to be way too strong. And yet she's number one at every single rank, except for bronze, where she's second best, and bronze is a funhouse mirror of a play place anyway. So like, I don't, you should never account for bronze in when it comes to anything. But still, she's not number one, but number two. But every single other rank, she's number one, and I can't figure it out. The speed's nice, the healing is nice, the ultimate is situational. I've had and seen plenty of her ultimate get no value, whereas Beat's always going to get value. Coalescence is always going to get value. You know, just much better. And she's not like living too long or doing too good against DPS, but she's winning. She's just straight up winning. So I don't know if it's just the tank meta really good for her right now, or the DPS that are especially good at killing her just aren't that strong right now. I mean, you know, Tracer's super duper weak, but Genji's like top 4 at every single rank, and he's doing just fine. I mean, Sombra doesn't have great numbers, but we've all had super annoying Sombras take out anybody from any class. But Juno, she's just the queen. She's just everybody's favorite Martian right now. And I'm kind of curious, like, are they going to nerf her because she's doing so well? But nobody's complaining that she's too strong. It's just really weird to me. Let me know if you know why in the comments below.